Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya Muhammad wa ala ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. All right. So those who don't have your cameras on, if you don't mind turning your cameras on, that would be great. And so we have the Sagher uncle back. I asked him to talk about a different topic. Last time when he was on, he gave us kind of the history of his profession as a professor in academia and gave us a lot of insights into that. But one of the things that I have seen from him over the years that I've known him, he has a lot of experience with money and with investment and business and just how kind of life transactions work. And he's helped my family, and he's helped a lot of other families and even young people. And I thought, like, let's bring him on and ask him to talk about money as an essential life skill. So it's not exactly career oriented, but this is like a universal life skill that everyone needs to have, whether you're going to go into a career or whether you just have to manage your life, which all of us will have to do sooner or later. So I apologize, Samantha. I was going to send you questions and I didn't get a chance to the schedule that I have while traveling.
Not an issue.
I think we talked a little bit about some of the things that we wanted to talk about, and as we get into it, then we'll focus you with questions.
Very good. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let's get started. What I'm going to talk about is investments, and investing is, by definition, is something that I don't want to use the word invest here, something that you utilize one of your resources to get a profit and gain something, get an advantage in life. And investing does not have to only be about money. It can be about time. You invest your time. You invest your money and your time. You go to college. And you go to college because you want some skills and attributes that somebody might want, and you would benefit from that time and money that you've spent at college. And so then there's a social investment where you network with people, you make friends, and you invest time with them, you help them out, they help you out. And that's an investment because the payback is in how you feel emotionally and so on. So today we'll skip the other parts. We'll just talk about investing money, and your parents or you are investing a lot of time and money into your education, and this education is going to build some skills that somebody wants. And you will then sell those skills. Basically, you're selling your time. Some company is buying your time and asking you to come to work for 8 hours a day or 12 hours a day or 2 hours a day. And they're going to compensate you based on your skills and your attributes for the amount of time you work. So you're actually selling your time and you're profiting from it. You invested several years in the past when you're going to college, when you went to high school and so on. Now that investment has to pay back. But we just take that for granted on a daily basis. And the time has to be used efficiently. Every one of us, the day we are born, we've got 24 hours a day. Everyone has the same amount of time. How you utilize that time becomes very critical. And so now if you can do a lot of things without money, but there's a lot of things that you cannot do if you don't have the money. So the way the world works is around money. I'm not saying you should be greedy, but there's nothing wrong having excess amount of money beyond what you actually need. So you could help others and help yourself and live comfortably because you've invested this time. Now you deserve living comfortably. So let's then talk about money. And now you're educated, you got a job, and we are now making money. And you could take that money. You're probably making money right now, working and making X dollars an hour for so many hours a week or whatever. And the question is, are you spending that money or are you investing it? And we all have necessities. And some of us are fortunate enough that our parents will help us out. Some of us, the parents may not be able to help out that much. So we have to go to work. For some of us, we have grandparents that will help us out and so on. But no matter what, it's hard-earned money, whether it was your parents' money or your grandparents' money, or you inherited it, or whatever, wherever you got that money from. But when you work and earn the money, actually physically work and earn the money, you now need to ask yourself, how am I going to spend it? Because if I have to invest, I have to save. So if I don't save, I have no money to invest. So we're going to switch over now to investment of money and how we can benefit from that in the long term. So you work, you earn, you spend, and you save. The question now is, how much do you spend? And how much do you save? At your stage in life, you may feel that you have to spend it all. One criteria I've used with my children too is they need to save 50% as long as the parents are supporting them. You need to save a large chunk of money. And you don't have to deprive yourself, but there's ways to save by not spending. You still earn the same amount of money, but there's ways to save without increasing your spending power. Example, I'll give an example. Oh, let's go to Starbucks, have a cup of coffee. Okay. And oh, let's go out and eat. You could, I don't know what Starbucks coffee costs because I don't go to Starbucks. I know the last coffee I bought through a drive-through was $1.69 for a small cup of coffee. The same coffee made at home costs you 10 cents. And if you take that $1.69 and not spend it, once in a while it's okay to spend it. But if you make that a regular habit, now you have saved $1.50 each day, 365 days of the year. Right there, you have over $500 saved. Did you still drink coffee every day? Yes. Let's go out to eat. No meal out there costs less than 10 bucks, 12 bucks, 15 bucks, right? You could pack your lunch. You could stay starved a little bit, come home and mom's made a good meal for you. So there's various ways of cutting back on spending. The question you have to ask yourself is, do I need this or do I want it? If you want it, you have to postpone it and think twice whether you really want it or don't want it this time. So spend on needs, absolutely. Whatever's a necessity, spend on it. How many of you have credit cards? If you go to college, right there on day one, the banks are out there handing you free credit cards. And that is a trap. Credit card is a tool. It's a good tool. Money is a tool. It's a good tool to have. But if you misuse the tool, you'd injure yourself. And so the credit card, if you have a credit card and you use a credit card or use a debit card, make sure that you have the money to pay it off without paying the minimum amount. You have to pay the full 100% of the amount.
Can I just, let's just make sure they know, you all know how credit cards and how debit cards work and what the difference is? Do you have that experience from your parents or if you have your own cards? And credit cards, it's clear that how, like, they give you a credit line.
Yeah.
That's so like you don't actually have, but you can spend that, but then there's certain consequences to that. You understand how those things work, or do you want him to explain that?
I can explain that if you want to. The credit cards, the way it is the banks will give you the card and they make money when you spend using that credit card. How do they make money? The merchant that you buy the stuff from gives the credit card company 2%. Okay. So if you pay your bills on time, credit card bills, let's say your balance was $100, you got your statement for the month, you pay off the $100, but the credit card company is going to say to you, look, if you don't have the money, that's okay. You can pay $20. They will take your $20, and on the $80, they will charge you interest. And that interest rate could be as high as 20% or 25%. And they don't have to tell you when they're going to change the rate. They can change it anytime they want to. That's the leeway they've got. And so credit card companies make a oodle of money. And oftentimes they offer a credit card with some benefits, with some freebies. Hey, if you get this credit card, we'll give you $200 cash. Well, they're counting on you not able to pay. They're counting on you impulsively spending money on a want rather than on a need. And now you don't have the ability to pay that credit card away next month. Credit cards are a great tool to have in your pocket, because if you want to spend it, you ask yourself, do I need it? Yes, I need it. My credit card is there. I can buy it right away. But you have to pay that credit card next month. I know of a friend who has 47 credit cards. 47 credit cards. You do not need more than one credit card. Okay. And he said to me, his philosophy is they offer an incentive, they offer him $200 for the credit card, he just takes it. The damage that he has done to himself is that his credit score is very low. So when you go to a bank and ask for a loan, they're going to look at how many credit cards you have. They have access to that information. There's no hiding that.
So okay, can you explain that whole idea about credit score and how do credit cards affect your credit score? Because that incentive thing is there. Every retail store you go to, they say we have our own credit card, and it's very tempting because you get a sale, you get this much off.
That's
so
right.
How does that affect your credit score, and why is that important?
The credit score is a score that they use for insurance, for loans, and in fact, even when you apply for a job, they may check your credit score. And people who have a high credit score are honest people that pay off they're good managers of the money. Therefore, they're very responsible people. And when you have a car and you get car insurance, the insurance company is checking your credit score first. The credit scores, there are three different companies that come up with the credit scores. They have your data based on your social security number. They have your data. And if you have a bank account, they know which bank account you have. They know how much money you have in that account. They know how many loans you have and all of that. So the credit score ranges from very low 400s to 800. And there's several factors in that. One of the factors is what is your balance on the credit cards. All credit cards that you have, let's say one credit card allows you a maximum of $1,000 limit. Okay. Another credit card allows you $2,000 limit. Another credit card allows you $5,000 limit. So the cumulative limit is now $5,000 plus $2,000 plus $1,000. And the credit company, the credit score company, is looking at you as though you could borrow $8,000 at one time. But do you have the ability to pay off $8,000? Many people max out their credit amount. They get to the $1,000 card, finish it, get it up to $1,000, then they go on to the next card, build up to $2,000, they go to the next card, $5,000. Now they don't have the ability to pay that. And so now they're paying 24%, 25%, 29% interest. And that interest rate is based on your credit score. The higher your credit score, the lower the interest rate, because they know you're a responsible person. And to me, use it as a tool. I use my credit cards. I've got one credit card that I normally use. The other one is a spare one, but I make money off of them. They offer me 2% cash back when I pay the full amount every month. I only buy what I can pay, never carry a balance on it. And they're happy because the merchant is giving them 2%. They give that 2% back to me. They're hoping someday I would default and pay them interest. Sorry, not with me. a good money manager. My credit score is 830. 850 is maximum. And the credit score is based on how much you borrow, all the loans that you have, and how often you made a payment. If you skip one payment 1 day late, it affects your credit score.
But
The
if I
more-
have a series of credit cards, if I keep on taking these ones for retail places, does that affect my credit score if I'm able to pay everything off or no?
Yes, it does affect your credit score. It actually lowers it, because the retail store cards are the worst of the worst, because they entice you into buying, because they don't have to pay the 2% to MasterCard or Visa or American Express. So it's their company card, and so they make the interest. So besides making the profit on the merchandise, they're making the interest if you don't pay on time. And it's just as a racket. It's, if you have a credit card, never cancel it. As soon as you cancel it, your credit score goes down. They look at how many years on average do you have these accounts with whoever. So for example, I got this credit card in 1992. It's 31 years now. Okay. Now, if I got a new credit card today, my average of the two would be 31 years plus 1 year, maybe. That's 32 years divided by 2. So that number has to be more than 60 months or 5 years. Same thing with bank accounts. You can't just keep switching bank to bank to bank. That affects your credit score. And you don't want to mess up on your credit score. Absolutely not. So getting back to the credit cards, use it as a tool, use it carefully, use it on your necessities, and make sure you pay off the full amount prior to the due date of the statement. They allow you 25 days after the statement ending date for you to pay it off. So make sure that all of your credit cards are taken care of. What you can do is adjust, let's say that you get paid on the 15th of the month or the 1st of the month. You could then tell the credit card company that you want your statements to end a day or two before that, and then make the payments when you get paid, so you have the money to pay it off right away. And it could be automatically set through your bank. They can take out the money automatically on that date, and therefore you don't have to worry about it. So credit scores are very important. Next time you go want to buy a car, that's what they're going to check, is the credit score. And by the way, for me, with my credit score being as high as it is, I could get a very low interest rate. That same thing goes for buying a house. So when you go to the bank's not going to treat everybody the same. If your credit score is high, you get a low rate or a cheaper loan. If your credit score is low, you get a high rate. And you're going to pay for 30 years on that home loan because your credit score on the day you got the loan was very low. So manage your credit score, manage it so carefully that, and it's very easy to manage it, because if you put everything in automatic payments, if you make sure that you don't buy unnecessary things with a credit card, make sure you buy it before you buy it, you have the money in the bank. That's
Ahmed
a
has a
simple way to
question.
do it.
Ahmed, go ahead.
Go ahead.
My one question was, is there a difference in like a smarter thing to do, paying it off manually every single month or automatic payments?
If you're disciplined enough to remember that you paid off every single month or manually, that's perfectly fine. I don't mind manually. I do not do it automatically. I want to make sure that I see the statement, because there will be mistakes on statement. Sometimes you get charged twice. Your card doesn't go through. You put the card again in the reader. It goes through, but it went through the first time as well. And now you got the same charge twice. You can call them up and say, hey, this happened, and they will take off that amount. So you have to check to make sure that what you actually bought appears on the statement. So manually or automatic doesn't matter. If you're one of those that rather do it automatically, you tell the bank, go in your bank account and say, pay it every month on this date, and whatever that amount is, they will the credit card company will pull it out of the bank. So good question. Yes.
About this credit score, I've heard that you have to kind of engage in the system to be able to build your credit score. Is it the case that you start with like a 850 and then you get docked, or do you start at 0 and you have to build it up, or like where do you start, and what are the initial things that you should, besides paying off and being responsible, are there other things that you should engage in to build that credit score?
Your credit score is based on your record, and if you don't take a loan at all, ever, your credit score will be low. You have to prove to them that you're able to take a loan and make the payments on time. And that's how you build your credit score. Example, what I did with my children when they were 14 years old, I got them a credit card. Okay. And I said, you can only use that card in an emergency. Okay. Now at 14, they probably were not going to make the payments themselves. The card was my card with my name, and you can ask your parents to do this if they're willing to do it. Put your name on that card as well. So your name will appear on the card. And so when you go to a store, you can use that card, provided your parents are watching where you spend the money. Every day they can go online and check to see what spending has occurred. And that builds your credit score. Maybe it's your parents' primary Social Security number in there, but your credit score is being built. So when my children got married, the spouses wondered how they had such a high credit score, because the payments were being made on time. So you need to take a loan, and a debit card, a credit card is kind of a loan, a 1 month duration loan. And so you have to build your track record, and it's very easy to do. The sooner you get it, the longer the term that you got, the 60-month that I was talking about. So at 14, and when they're now 28 or 29, something like that. So they've got 14 years of credit scores. So that's you need to talk to your parents about it. And often parents hesitate, and but if they got trust in you, they will let you do that. You can also go to the bank and say, hey, I need a credit card. They may give you a $250 limit to $300 limit. One other thing on credit cards, by the way, let's say that you got a credit card with a $5,000 limit. If you ever buy something that cumulative for that month that exceeds the 30% cutoff, 30% of 5,000 is 1,500. Do not buy any more than 1,500, because that is a no-no. That right there, you run a red light, and they think you're going to get in trouble because you can't pay that amount. So 30% is your cutoff. What I do is, if I have to make a big purchase, I will go buy it, and I will pay it off the next day. Okay, I'm looking for that 2% that they're going to give me as an incentive. So I will pay it off the next day. So my balance then back down to where it would normally be. So a big purchase can be made, but paid off within a day or two before the next statement appears. It's all based on the statement. So if the statement balance is less than 30%, that's what matters. And try to keep your number of credit cards minimal as possible. And while I'm saying this, I think one of the things you have to think about is debt. Debt in America.
Asya has a question before we move on to the next topic. Go ahead, Asya.
Okay.
I was just wondering, you mentioned that in order to keep your credit score high, you have to take out loans and like continually like use your card, so they don't like I guess, close your account or something like that. If you don't ever plan on taking out like a loan to, let's say, buy a house, like for example, at my age, I'm not going to be buying a house, right?
That's correct.
So if I don't plan to make like take out those big loans, do you recommend me either like getting a card later? Like what do you recommend in that situation?
Credit card as soon as possible. Get a credit card as soon as possible, because sooner or later you're going to be driving, if you're not driving already. Your car insurance is based on your credit score. All insurance is based on your credit score. So you have to have car insurance when you drive a car. And even though your parents may own the car, your name is on there, and they check your credit score of the child. And so a child having a credit card and just going and buying gum at the local store and then paying that off shows that you're responsible enough to pay things off in time. And so I would recommend that you get a credit card with, if you're an impulsive buyer, impulsive decision maker, that you cannot hold back. You see something and, oh, I got to buy this. That is a behavioral change you need to make. And if you got the money, that's fine. Go ahead, buy it. But the credit card needs to be used in such a way that you can pay it off when you get that statement. Pay off full amount, not just a small portion, because that's what they'll ask you to do. So yes, so basically what I'm saying to you is, if you don't have one, get one.
And how can you check the credit score? And does it checking it also affect your score?
You are allowed to check your score once a year for free. It's called mycreditscore.com. And you could go in there and you can find out, and you'd be surprised what information you will see on there about yourself. You may have forgotten that you borrowed money or had a credit card way back when, and it'll show every month. Did you make the payment? Did you make the payment on time or not? How much your current balance is? They have everything updated. So you can check it once a year, or you could for free, or you could call the credit bureaus. There's 3 different credit bureaus. One's Experian, one's TransUnion, and it's called the FICO score, FICO, FICO. And I'm not even sure what it stands for. Fair Isaac, something or the other. F is a Fair Isaac. I don't know where they came up with that, but you can call them and say, hey, I need to find out what my credit score is. Go to a bank, give them your social security number. In 1 minute, they'll give you a credit score.
But is it true that it affects your credit score when they check it?
If there's 2 different kinds of checks. One is a hard check, one is a soft check. For the insurance companies, let's say you went and compared 5 different insurance companies to get car insurance. That is not a hard check. But when you're taking money out, that is a hard check. So if you went and bought a car and wanted the car company to finance that, or a bank to finance it, that's a hard check. A hard check will reduce your credit score by 5 points. And if you do multiple of those, then it'll go back down. A good score to have is 740 or above. And it's not hard to achieve the 740. It is really not hard. Many people have multiple cards. They push that balance up to the max. They cannot pay it off. They pay a little at a time. Those people drop in the 400, 500 range. Oh, by the way, also when you go to rent, I have some properties and rent them out. But every renter that wants to rent from me, I have them provide me a full credit score, so I know how much they owe who and how much money they make, whether or not they can afford to pay me rent on time. So yeah, the credit score is like the Kalma.
Wow. Zain Labadin?
Do you recommend checking your credit score every year?
You don't need to, but it's okay to check it, because sometimes if there's fraudulent activity, scams, somebody's using a social security number and borrowing money on it. I had one instance where, you get these in the mail, you get, oh, get a credit card from us, we'll give you $200. Okay, they got your name from somewhere. Have you gotten any of those in the mail? No, but well, you will once you start working. And in this case, there was a fraud case where somebody took that mail out of the mailbox. Some strange person took the mail out of the mailbox and made a credit card on the person who the credit card was intended to be, and used that credit card. And they racked up a bill of $284,000. And when the guy wasn't paying, they found out it was identity theft. And American Express gave back a check for $284,000 because that came out of their bank account. The guy was tapping the bank account as well. So there's lots of scams out there as well. So you have to be very, very careful. So now you need to go back and check your credit score every so often to see who is using your identity to borrow money. And there's a lot of scammers out there, a lot of them. You need to be aware of that. So check your bank accounts, check your credit scores. You got to do it regularly. Otherwise, you don't know who's using your social security number. And that's a very important number. You should not give it to anybody, not use it in an email, because sometimes, your emails are tapped. Got it?
I mean,
I was gonna
What?
ask if your credit score takes a significant drop while you're in the process of paying a loan, can the interest rate still go up? If your credit score was good, when you started paying the loan, and then it took a drop while you're in the process of it.
Yeah, if your credit score drops suddenly after you've taken the loan, nothing changes. Okay, you can always build back your credit score. Okay, if you ever let me first answer your question, then I'll tell you what you can do in a situation like that. Your credit score can drop if you do certain actions of not paying and so on. But if when you applied for the loan, they checked your credit score and approved your loan, you got the loan, they're not going to take that money back from you. Your credit score can drop, the next loan will be affected, and the next insurance quote will be affected. So now what you do is, if you happen to be late or have to be late in the payment, pick up the phone, call them, call the credit card company and say, hey, I'm going to be late. Can you waive this for me? They have a late payment, by the way, of $29, $39, something like that. Every credit card company is different. So if you call them and say that the money is coming, give me a few more days, they will not record it as a late payment. So human beings are human beings, and they will accommodate people. But if that's a consistent pattern that you are not paying your bills on time, it comes back to haunt you. Good questions, very good questions. So where do we go from here?
Ashley has one more.
Okay.
Yeah, just really quick, just to clarify, you mentioned soft and hard checks for like checking your credit score. Soft checks are free?
Yes, everything's free.
Okay.
Everything's free.
The hard checks, like the hard checks are free as well, or they
are free if you request it, but if the merchant requests it, they may want to charge $35. And sometimes the merchant may say you need to pay the $35. Most banks can access it and do a hard check for no cost, because they're going to give you a loan and they're going to make money on the interest. So they waive that hard check fee. Okay. good questions.
So you mentioned fraud is, I don't know if that's too big of a thing to open up, but maybe are there maybe a few things that they should really be aware of with regard to fraud, so they don't get sucked into things? Are there some
First
likely
off,
frauds that that
yeah.
they might be exposed to at this age?
First off, the social security number is the one thing you want to protect, and not people will call and say, oh, by the way, you didn't pay this bill. We need to make sure your bill is paid and you're late for this. It's a scam call. And they're going to say, well, we're going to take it from your bank. And we just want to verify what your bank account number is. Okay. And when you suspect that, don't ever say yes, because they're recording that yes part of it. Okay, and you just go but don't say yes. But don't give them any information on banks. Don't give them any information on social security number. And driver's license is another thing you want to protect, because these three items identify yourself. It's unique to you. And so scammers can take that information and tap into your bank account if they have to. And this fraud is prominent. It's just common. Most oftentimes, you get requests like this from Europe, from India, and so on, and they pretend as though they're the IRS. They pretend as though they're the insurance company or the credit card company, and you just say, "Well, you called me. I didn't call you, so I'm not going to even talk to you about it. If I had a need, I would have called you." And I get maybe 3 or 4 of those types of calls every week, and they act as a tax man, the IRS, and want you to go to the bank right now and pay that amount, or meet me at Walgreens and have a check ready for me, because I will take care of whatever your problem is. Do not ever, ever, ever do that. And talk to your parents about it. Sometimes parents don't want to talk about money. Sometimes parents just may not know all this detail, and explore it yourself. It's okay, but discuss it with your parents, because they may know the answer to it. They know how they've solved it. So it's very important that you talk to your parents about money, and have them guide you. Okay, so shall we get back to investments then? So you need to have some money to invest. And so that money has to come from your earnings or your gifts, or do not ever, ever, ever borrow money to invest. Okay, that's a no-no in my principle. Although you might have family members say, "Oh yeah, if you want something now, I'll loan you the money." And if you're taking that money and investing it, there's a risk that you could lose it. And it's not ethical to take somebody else's money and invest it for your own gain. Don't want to do that. It's totally unethical. So investment starts early in life. If you don't have, and now I'm shifting over to stocks, bonds, and how money makes money. Okay. If you do not have an account with a firm such as Charles Schwab or Fidelity or E-Trade or Ameritrade, I would suggest you open one. It doesn't take any money to open one. You put $1 in there, just like a bank account, you can open an account. But you need to start investing early. And whatever money you save, you need to start to think about investing. But before you invest, you have to have a goal. You have to sit down and think, what are the things I'm going to save for and buy? Do I want to buy a car? Do I want to buy a house? Do I want to save for a trip overseas? I would like to buy this camera or this iPhone. Retirement is too far out. We're not thinking about that at this point, but you now are saving for a certain item that you want to buy, which you don't have the money for now. Or you may have a goal that's 2 years from now, I'd like to buy this car, so I'm saving for that car. And so rather than just have the money sit in my wallet or sit in my dresser drawer, I would rather invest it. And now we are going to go and prioritize our list. We have the goals. We're going to prioritize our list, what we're saving for and what we're investing for. The other thing you want to do, we haven't invested any money yet. You just have opened an account. You also have to determine what your net worth is. And we're talking financial net worth. Each person's life is worth millions of dollars, but financial net worth. And net worth is a technical term. It is what you're worth after you have added up all of your assets and subtracted all of your liabilities. So your assets include, let's say, a car, any jewelry you have, any cash you have, anything that you have bought or have cash. That is assets. You total them all up, give it a value, artificially give it a value. That's fine. Liabilities. You owe this person this much money, or you owe this bank or your credit card this much money. And so all of those are liabilities. And now we subtract the liabilities from the assets. If the number is positive, your net worth is positive. Your net worth could be negative. That's okay. Okay. We don't want to be in the negative, but if it is in the negative today, that's fine. Now we have a goal to make our net worth increase year after year after year. So now if you have a goal that by next year, I'm going to have my net worth go from negative to positive, we've got to have a strategy. Or if you look, if your net worth is already positive, we want to increase that by how much? If you got $5,000 now as positive net worth, I want to increase to 7,000. Be realistic about it. Don't be, don't go in the cloud and say, yeah, this is possible. It's not possible. You have to take small baby steps initially. So how do I get from 5,000 to 7,000? We now need to develop a strategy. And that strategy is our investment strategy. Okay. So, and we're doing this net worth thing just on paper.
Can I just ask one thing? So in this plan to go from 5 to 7,000, you're not talking about saving more. Now you're talking about actually investing to grow that money to 7,000?
No, in your plan, if your investing is not going to get you 7,000, that's a substantial jump from 5,000 to 7,000.
Okay.
You can do that through savings. You can do that through more work, add extra hours of work, right? So now here's the question is, do you want to work for the money or do you want the money to work for you? Okay, the work for the money, you get a job, you get a second job, you get a third job, and you bring the money in, you save most of it because you have a goal. And so that is working for money. Now, you want the money to work for you. That's the easy way out. You take that money and invest it. Don't keep it in the bank because the bank will give you 0.01% interest on your money. Okay. So if you invest it, you don't want to have interest, perhaps you want dividends. And we'll talk about the difference between interest and dividends. So we need to start to think of it in terms of our net worth and how we're going to go from point A to point B. Maybe 7,000 is an unrealistic goal. Maybe it's 6,000. But once you achieve it, you're going to pat yourself on the back. Hey, I achieved it. Next year's goal is going to be this. Or 2 months down the road, I want the 6,000 to be 6,500, and so on. Don't be a Scrooge. Spend where you need to spend. Enjoy life. These days don't ever come back. Each day you lose in your life, or you're moving on to the next step, next stage of life. As a teenager, enjoy what you like to do, but in modest amounts. So you don't go blow all your money away. You must have savings, and once you get in that habit, it's very difficult to change that. And so, and believe me, you'll be extremely happy, extremely stressless, no stress, when you have enough money to fulfill your needs. And so you don't have to borrow from others. You can pay cash for it, or take the cash, invest it, make the money work for you, and go borrow to pay off whatever you need to pay off. I'll give you an example. I have a mortgage on my house. My mortgage rate is 2.25%. Okay. Right now, I have one investment that pays me 4.9%. I have enough money to pay off my mortgage in full. Should I pay it off? Or should I invest in 4.9%, pay off 2.25 from that, and take home the difference, right? This is where I'm making money work for me. Got it? So this is, I use a lot of personal examples, and these are real world examples. So you want to, I'm a very good money manager. So at least I think I am. And I want to give you every secret I use. And that's what you need to strive for. Okay.
Ahmed
so,
has a question. Go ahead.
Go
Ahmed.
Um, so my question is kind of for both you guys. I remember one time in social studies we had to play this game. It was called Build Your Stacks. It like shows you different investment opportunities, and over a period of 20 years, you have to try to beat the computer. And I was just wondering about the certificate of deposit and like whether or not it's halal, and if Sagher uncle has ever used it to like make money.
on the halal part, I'd let Sheikh Rizwan answer it. And also your voice was coming a little muffled. So if
I think he was asking about certificate of deposit, CDs.
yes,
Is that right, Ahmed? Ahmed,
Yeah,
you're asking
yeah,
about
yeah.
CD, a certificate of deposit.
Yeah.
So is it a good good investment, and is it halal?
is it halal? I let
Let's
you
deal
answer
with
the halal.
like what it is and how it works, and then the halal part can come afterwards. I mean,
Okay,
the legal rule.
so let's get then to the investment of money then, and we'll see how that works here. Savings is not an investment. Savings is savings, and what savings will do, and CD, I categorize CD or certificate of deposit as a savings, a sophisticated savings account. The banks will offer you a checking account, a savings account, a certificate of deposit account. Most banks offer those three. With the checking account, you don't get any interest. With a savings account, you get a modest interest. And with a CD, you are giving your money to the bank. You're loaning your money to the bank, and you're charging the bank a certain interest. The bank sets the interest rate for a set period of time. A certificate of deposit, when you give the money to the bank and say, I want to invest this money in a certificate of deposit for 3 months, they may say, well, okay, if you give it to us for 3 months, at the end of 3 months, we will give you at a rate of 4%. I'm just using an example here, 4% on an annual basis. Since 3 months is only 1/4 of a year, so 1/4 of 4%, you'll get 1%. So if you invested $1,000 in the bank on a CD for a 3-month 4% rate, you get 1% of the $1,000, which is $10. So now your bank account has the $1,010 at the end of 3 months. You do not lose the principal. The principal is intact. Principal is the amount you invested. That is intact. They will then, at the end of the 3 months, they'll give you $10. If you choose to withdraw the money before the 3 months, that was agreement you had with the bank. But if you choose to withdraw it, they will not give you the $10. They'll give you $1,000 back, but they will not give you $10. So there's 3-month CDs, there's 6-month CDs, there's 9-month CDs, there's 12-month CDs, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, the bank will take your money and make money off of them. They will take your money, you loan them the money at a low rate. They will then loan it back to some consumer who wants to buy a car at 7%. So they're making the difference between what they give you, and that's how bank works. And so now the question is that halal? There is no risk at all for you in a CD. Well, let me back off a little bit. If a bank goes bankrupt, banks can go bankrupt, then your CD is still safe because most banks are federally insured up to $250,000. So you have FDIC insurance. If you had a CD at a credit union, which are sort of mini banks, these credit unions are also insured up to $250,000. So if you only had $1,000, you'll certainly get your $1,000 back. The bank may not have the money, but the federal government will jump in and protect you by paying you $1,000. So it's interest, and the question now is that halal?
Yeah, receiving interest is fine from these banks. That's how all these things work. So receiving interest is permitted.
Okay. So it's savings accounts, no risk, really. Whether you put it in a savings account or a CD, there is very little risk. Your principal is intact, your investment is intact, and you will get some interest that the bank will give you. So now you decide whether you want the no risk investment or you want some risk. And if you want some risk, then there's other options. And the other options, we go from savings, which is, or CDs, which is the safest. As you increase your risk, you may lose the money that you invested. That's the risk you're taking. If you put $1,000 in a certain investment, and we'll talk about the different investments here. If you put $1,000 in that investment, you could make money on it, or you could lose the entire $1,000. You could. So you have to be very careful, very selective as to how you invest your money. In my opinion, if at your stage in life, you folks don't have much money, whatever money you saved is based on a low income that you have, and it is not worth taking the big risk. But there are some low risk investments as well. And we'll go through that in a minute here. As you take the risk, as the risk increases, the value of that $1,000 also increases. So, for example, let's say you took $1,000 and invested in a company. Let's take company Apple. Okay, Apple, you buy shares in Apple with $1,000. You own part of that company, and any profits Apple makes, they will return that back to you as what is called as dividends. Okay, if they don't make money, they may still pay you dividends. They may borrow money to pay you dividends, but you can get the dividends, but then the stock price can change daily. Every minute it changes. And so your $1,000 could be 1,009 1 minute, and it could be 956 another minute. And it all depends on how these shares are bought and sold. And we can get into that perhaps later, maybe not today. But so when you start to increase your risk, you could lose more of your principal, more of your investment. And so you're not at that stage. There are some stocks that are value stocks. And let's use an example of a value stock. A value stock is something that a company makes something that is everybody uses. Okay, electricity. Every house needs electricity. Every house needs water. Every house, if they have a gas supply for heating, they would use gas for heating. Now, these companies are called value companies because they pay higher dividends. And because they're not depending on whether how many iPhones I can sell or not sell and what the competition is for those iPhones. These people don't have competition. When they've set in a given area, they have all these customers, and as the population grows, they're making more money. They're going to give you part of that profit back to you as dividends, and they pay higher dividends. Value stocks pay higher dividends, but they don't go up as much. The value does not go up as much. So $1,000 that you invested, maybe $1,050. Whereas with Apple, if you luck out and time it right, please don't time the market. It will not work. If you time it right, that Apple stock could go up 20% in a year. And so that is not going to happen with a value stock. So risk is imminent. Risk is always there, but you need to then ask yourself, how much risk am I willing to take? Do I want to risk all my money? I could take my $1,000 and put $100 in a risky stock and put $900 in a value stock. So now you have to adjust and balance based on your risk tolerance. And at your stage in life, don't take the risk, because it would hurt if you lose money. It really does. It's hard-earned money, and so don't take that risk.
Asia has a question.
Yes, go ahead.
What is the lowest risk of investment that you know of?
The bank, CDs, lowest risk. Then the next level is bonds. Bonds is where you loan the money to a company or to a US government. And they then will, you loan it to them for a certain amount of time, and they'll give you a slightly higher rate, because rather than go and get the money from bank, they're taking the money from private individuals, and they are investing it and paying you an interest. And just like the CD, the bonds are by for a certain set time, you will get your money back on the bonds. Mm-hmm. And although there's a little slight risk that the bond value may go up or down, but your interest is guaranteed, and they pay slightly higher interest than the CDs.
Sagher, uncle.
Yes.
So I think the time is not going to allow us to go anymore. It sounds like we're just kind of getting into the whole idea.
This is great. You guys have good questions. I think you'll have a lot more questions. I can come back again some other week, and we can take it from here, because I've got all the investment listed based on risk.
Wow.
And if you want to buy cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, so on, go at it. You lose your money or you make a lot of money. That's the riskiest of them all right now. So, but again, yes, we can close the session now, and inshallah, I've probably gotten to 1/3 of my notes here. So, but these are good questions, and I think we need to build more on this. And if they've got more questions, they want to even privately contact me. I don't know if you allow that by email or by phone. You can give them my phone number. I'd be glad to answer questions for them.
Yeah. So when I was talking to Sagher uncle, he was saying that he'd like to teach a course, like a 15-week course on these things. So I think I feel like we just kind of got into it, kind of got a sampling of the first lesson, and I could see this blossoming, and then you're all benefiting quite a bit. So let me know maybe through the Telegram group. If that sounds like something interesting, then I can work with him to get that going for the fall, and then you all and other people can also join and maybe have a class and maybe an investment group and all those sorts of things. And under his mentorship, you can start small and kind of learn the ropes based on all of his experience.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Sagher uncle.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Useful, and it was also kind of a whetting of the appetite to see what more is there.
Thank you. And again, if you have questions, just text or send a message to Sheikh Rizwan, and he will forward it to me, and I'll answer the question for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you.
Allah Hafiz. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum.